In March 2022, I began the Evolution series, where I discussed the movesets of monsters in detail and how they changed across each game. I did 13 episodes before the release of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and 10 of the monsters covered are updated in the expansion, effectively outdating the videos. So in this video, we're going to go through the new changes for those 10, as well as any rare species or variants that have appeared. We will also cover the Risen Dragons and any hazard quests. This video ideally would have come out a year ago, but we're now at the point where every conceivable variant, Risen Dragon and hazard quest has been released, so now it's finally time. I also intend on uploading a longer supercut with all the Season 1 episodes back to back, with the Sunbreak editions edited in, so look out for that. Sunbreak Rathalos' big new addition is an attack where he breathes a stream of fire in the air. He can often combo this from a fireball and into a homing claw attack. Silver Rathalos was reintroduced in Title Update 1, initially encountered in the Forlorn arena, but available to fight in the same locations as Rathalos. He has many of Rathalos' new attacks, such as the straight laser. Silver tends to combo attacks together at a much higher rate. He has a new attack where he rapidly shoots 3 fireballs, similar to Rathian. In Iceborne, Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian's enhanced fire state was referred to as the Hellfire state. In Sunbreak, it was changed to Incandescent, most likely to avoid confusion with Magnamalo's flames. In his incandescent state, his fire is different to how it used to be in Iceborne, no longer lingering on the ground for nearly as long. He uses a lot of Rise Rathalos' attacks in different ways. For example, his straight laser on the ground can be followed up with another at a different angle. He has access to Apex Rathalos' carpet bombs too. He tends to combo from and into claw attacks, often ending in a powerful fire blast. Silver also has a special attack where he breathes fiery chunks on the ground and sets them alight in a huge explosion. Sunbreak Tigrex gets a new attack where he jumps forward and flips over. From there he can combo into a charge, spin, or perform other attacks. He does not get back the swipe from Iceborne, so within Sunbreak, the flip is his only addition. Sunbreak Zinogre now performs 3 slams by default. In addition to this, he has a new attack when he's fully charged up, where he performs 2 strong slams back to back in quick succession. If he's enraged, he will follow up with a lightning uppercut. Bullfango is the same as he is in Rise. In the older games, Nargacuga would usually perform a single tail slam in high rank and a double tail slam in G or Master rank, but in Rise, he already does 2 slams, so how does Sunbreak spice it up? In Master rank, he will perform a normal slam and then follow up with another at a different angle, which tracks you a lot more. He no longer performs his old walk to the side slam he did in Rise. Nargacuga also has an attack from Iceborne where he rushes forward and swings his tail around. Title Update 1 has Lucent Nargacuga return for the first time in a decade. Lucent has been massively upgraded with several new attacks and mechanics. He has Iceborne Narga's jump back and tail swing and can slash his wing forward in a quick strike. Like in 3 Ultimate, Lucent will often go invisible in between attacks, making it difficult to track him. He has a new attack where he roars and then rapidly spins. He can also perform a faster version of the double pounce. In terms of his poisonous tail spikes, he will prepare them by whipping his tail behind him, and from there his tail attacks will launch them. He has 2 new attacks where he shoots them into the air and they land on the ground, creating a poisonous field. The first is in a line, forcing you to move as he combo swipes together, and the other is a ring that slowly expands. The poison tail spikes can be temporarily disabled by dealing enough damage to his tail. As the fight progresses, he gains the ability to combo into new additional tail slams, including Rise Nargacuga's old one, with much better tracking this time. He also has a special attack, where the music quietens, he jumps around for several seconds before performing a giant tail slam. He also generally attacks at a faster rate than before. Like in 3 Ultimate, Lucent Nargacuga is exclusively fought in the Forlorn arena and only at night, as the moonlight is necessary for him to go invisible. He later received a hazard quest that changed up his moveset in a significant way. He attacks much faster and at a higher rate. His claw swipe is much faster than it used to be. His poison spikes now hit in a T-shape rather than a straight line. His poison rain also falls in a T-shape rather than a line as well, and his poison rings last much longer, which means he can attack while the 3rd ring is still falling. In his second phase, the super attack is now so much faster and he jumps around much more, and the actual tail slam is faster too. He can combo his back tail swing with a triple tail slam combo, which is also just something he does now. Sunbreak Diablos has Bloodbath's quick horn thrust, which he can do independently or as part of a charge. He can also perform a new, slower stab that goes directly in front of him and deals more damage. Sunbreak Rathian pretty much gets one brand new attack. She rears back before running forward and taking up into the air. From here she can either dive down on you or backflip, making for a very versatile attack. Reintroduced in Title Update 1 is Gold Rathian. Like Silver Rathalos, she is fought initially in the Forlorn arena, but can later be encountered in the same places as Rathian. Gold has a few new attacks, such as a triple fireball, where she swings her tail around after the second shot, poisoning anyone who gets hit. She has Rathian's new run, which she can combo into her enhanced tail flips, but also an old attack from Dread Queen Rathian, where she flies down and swings her tail. Gold can also perform an older attack from 4 Ultimate Rathian, where she bites and swings her tail. In addition to all of this, she has a new combo in her incandescent state, where she splits a fireball, chains into an enhanced tail flip, before shooting a huge fireball that explodes. Sunbreak Rajang has some new additions. He tends to jump forward much more frequently than he used to. When lifting rocks when enraged, he combos into a Blanga Ball. Furious Rajang returns, encountered beyond the final boss and in the game from the start, unlike in Iceborne, where he was an update monster. While he has a lot of attacks from his Iceborne version, he's still quite a bit different. He's a bit slower overall, although faster than Rise and Sunbreak Rajang. He can dig his fists into the ground and have lightning shock through. He can perform a much slower version of his spin that chains into the third punch of his triple punch combo. In his rampage state, that punch will have lightning shock through the ground, harming people at a distance. He will also perform the punch again after his triple punch combo, and he can even interrupt his flurry rush with it as well. He has a brand new attack, where he dashes at you extremely fast, twice in quick succession. And finally, he has the 4th gen rock throwback. In addition to this, his pin was altered so that instead of smacking you into the ground, he throws you into the air and attempts to laser you. Sunbreak Chameleos can now breathe venomous lasers. He will often fire one straight ahead, and then follow it up with a sweep. He can also individually sweep a laser and turn to face you simultaneously, which he then combos with a straight tongue attack. Risen Chameleos was added in Title Update 2. He is darker in colour with scars across his body, and he has many new attacks. He can now fire 2 quick bursts of venom, one after the other, and both with heavy tracking. He can swing his tongue around from one side to the other. Risen Chameleos has access to most of Chameleos' attacks, but when he goes invisible, he tends to move around much faster. Eventually, he will enter his Risen state, where the scars on his body will glow orange. The mist he sprays is pink, and he gains access to even more attacks. He can now perform his ultimate venom attack with even more venom globs and a longer range laser, and follow it all up with a massive venom cloud. His old venom ring is initiated much faster, only this time it's not a ring, but venomous projectiles travelling across the ground. His tongue attack is different because now he swings it both ways. Finally, he can create a cloud of venom before exploding it with a slap of his tail. Dealing enough damage will knock him out of the Risen state, but he will eventually enter it again. At a high enough anomaly level, an enhanced Risen Chameleos is unlocked. The main difference is that he uses Risen attacks when out of the Risen state, including the Poison Ring. In the Risen state, he starts comboing more attacks together that he didn't before. This includes swiping his horn left and right and into a body slam, spitting out 2 globs into a laser sweep, comboing 3 shotgun blasts, comboing 2 shotgun blasts into a body slam, and spreading a row of poison into a ring attack. I don't believe he has anything new, but his existing attacks send out more globs than normal. Sunbreak Kushala Daora only has 2 new attacks in Master Rank, one where he sweeps a beam of wind while in the air, and another where he shoots a ball of wind also while in the air. Risen Kushala was introduced in Title Update 3. Like Risen Chameleos, he is darker in colour and has visible scars. He can fire 2 tornadoes that move left and right while he follows up with a wind blast across the ground. He can perform 2 slams that cause silvery wind explosions and can even create a giant wind bomb beneath him, also with the silvery wind. When enraged, Risen Kushala gains access to even more attacks. Master Rank Kushala's wind beam sweep is now golden and creates explosions on the ground for added danger. Like Risen Chameleos, He still has access to many of the standard form's attacks, but he mixes in the new ones for more challenge. When he enters the Risen state, he gains even more attacks. One of them is a combo, where he slams into the ground before backing away with a giant wind bomb, where the silvery wind now appears to be golden. His 2 fist slams have even bigger explosions, and he follows up with yet another wind bomb. His suction tornado will now cause 4 golden cyclones to rotate around it, extending its radius and limiting your options for closing in. Like Risen Chameleos, Kushala will get knocked out of the Risen state if he takes too much damage. Risen Kushala also gets an enhanced quest where he gains new attacks and combos. He can now perform a new aerial kick when he zooms at you. His tornadoes will spread outwards, but unlike the standard quest, they will also begin to move in towards you. He tends to combo his smaller charged orb attack more often, and certain Risen attacks now have additional properties. For example, when entering the Risen state, his transition attack has tornadoes appear around him, and he'll charge the bigger orb from the air instead of the ground. Moving on to Sunbreak Teostra, his standard form actually gets quite a few new upgrades. He gets a new triple combo where he swipes one way, swipes the other, before ending with a spin. If he does the attack in blast mode, he creates explosions both at close range and at a distance. If performed in fire mode, he spreads flames. He can create an explosion near his face, creating cover as he jumps back and then leaps forward. And he gains a double charge, slightly reminiscent of his older days. Risen Teostra was added in Title Update 3. His mane is slightly bleached and he has scars on his body. He doesn't have too many differences in his normal state, aside from the spin attack, where he flies up while creating explosions around him before diving at you. In fire mode, he breathes fire instead and lands immediately. He also has access to a double flamethrower attack, similar to that of Kushala Daora. Eventually, he enters the Risen state, and not only do his scars glow, but so do his arms, being practically a flame. In the Risen state, his explosions gain much more potency, and he attacks much faster. In fire mode, his flames are much stronger, and he can combo his circular flamethrower into an aerial fire attack before diving at you. His supernova is also enhanced, sending fire across the ground to catch anyone out of range. The enhanced Risen Teostra does a few extra combos, and his attacks have extra properties. The short of it is, when charging in fire mode, he leaves fire on either side. His row of explosions is now more of a V-shape, covering a wider area, and he can perform his ground-based nuke twice in a row. So, I made this tier list in order to rank who I believe had the best changes and who had the worst. Rajang and Kushala are on the lowest tier. I thought Kushala was at his best in Rise, but in Sunbreak he's worse because they gave him this laser that's really easy to avoid and does nothing except break the pace of the fight. Rajang pretty much is just able to blang a ball out of a rock dig, which doesn't really improve upon the issues he had in Rise. B tier is for monsters that received few changes, but the changes they did get improved their fights, if only a little. Diablos is the lowest. He received Bloodbath's Horn Jab, but like with Apex Diablos it's still not very accurate. This other Horn Stab is functionally useless because of how slow it is. Diablos in this game still doesn't feel nearly as dangerous as he did in the older games, and I think giving him more of Bloodbath's attacks, or even just reintroducing Bloodbath himself, would have been much better. Next is Nargacuga. I think the new Tail Slam is a bit cheap, but it does keep you on your feet. In Rise, countering the double Tail Slam was perhaps a little too easy, and this new one makes it harder. Next it's Tigrex. While I'm disappointed he didn't get that cool swipe he had in Iceborne back, this new jump attack is pretty good. It's fast and makes him more unpredictable, as he can chain it into a variety of different attacks. I just wish Brute Tigrex was in this game. Following him is Rathian. Since full ultimate, she basically had no changes, but this new run was a nice way to spice up the fight. It's a bit like Tigrex in that it makes her more unpredictable. She's still low, because I'm disappointed she didn't get, say, Pink Rathian's Fire Bites from full ultimate. Chameleos' fight is good, but the new laser can make him a bit too predictable, as it's way too easy to dodge or counter the second sweeping one. That being said, the other laser where he twists around to aim at you is pretty good, so he's higher than the others. Rathalos got a straight improvement. That new fire breathing attack makes the fight even better than he was in Rise, forcing you to keep moving to avoid the stream of flames and his follow-up claw attack. Zinogre usually gets the ability to perform 3 slams in G rank, but this new attack is particularly deadly, a net positive for him, and it's cool that it chains into a lightning uppercut. Likewise, Gold Rathian's new combos and attacks make her much harder to counter. She received a lot more than Rathalos, but she's still in B tier because I'm disappointed she didn't get Pink Rathian's Fire Bite, as Gold Rathian had it in for ultimate. It would have made her a lot more challenging. Onto A tier, Teostra's new attacks are fantastic. They really spice him up and make him more dangerous, and it's funny how much better his new stuff is compared to Kushala and Chameleos. I really like the triple combo, which is dangerous for different reasons in both Blast and Fire mode. Risen Teostra is an improvement, but not by much. His new attacks are great, and really give him a diverse moveset, but he's definitely the least improved of the Risen Dragons, which is why he's the lowest. Next is Silver Rathalos. Incorporating enhanced versions of Rise Rathalos' attacks make him more dangerous, but also more telegraphed, as it's easier to distinguish between different attacks than an Iceborne. His new combos are particularly deadly too, as he can chain up to 5 attacks together at times. I think if Iceborne Silver didn't exist, I'd rank Sunbreak Silver higher, but the Iceborne one was already pretty good, and this one improves upon that. Furious Rajang surprised me with how much they distinguished him from Rajang. I felt like Furious and Iceborne didn't really blow me away. Raging Brachydios was clearly the start of his update, with Furious simply feeling like a slightly enhanced version of an already difficult monster. Rise and Sunbreak Rajang are not great, but Sunbreak Furious's new attacks and combos make the fight very fast paced and really keep you on your feet. I love the new double dash, and I'm glad they brought back the rock throw. That being said, I'm a bit disappointed with how they changed his pin. They probably did it to provide the player with an opportunity to wire fall, but that means he no longer does that awesome roar he did in Iceborne. Now we move on to S tier, featuring the other 2 Risen Dragons. Both are the absolute best they've ever been, with Chameleos gaining several new attacks that make him so much more dangerous and fast, and ditching that Venom Ring that was just free damage for the player. I really love that fast tongue swing, and the mist in his Risen state looks amazing. That being said, Risen Kushala is probably better. The new wind and tornado attacks are fabulous, and I love the silver and gold effects on them. He has such a diverse moveset, and I really hope more of these attacks are adapted into future iterations. This is definitely the best Kushala we've ever had. I think the most improved monster has to be Lucent Nargacuga, to the point I gave him his own tier. In 3 Ultimate, Lucent was just a standard Narga with different hit zones, poison spikes, and the ability to go invisible. But in Sunbreak, he has so many differences and new attacks to set him apart. He's so fast and unpredictable that it really feels like a test of instincts. I also love monsters that get more dangerous the longer the fight goes on. Definitely one of the best fights in the entire game. The Hazard quest dramatically improved him too. Those are the changes each monster I initially covered last year received in Sunbreak, as well as my thoughts on them. I'm curious to know your thoughts on all these changes. Which ones are your favourite, and which ones are you not a fan of? Do you disagree with my tier list? Let me know in the comments. A special thank you to my patrons for making this video possible. Remember to like and subscribe, and have a good day.